It is high summer, and your tomato plant has become a jungle. Stems everywhere, leaves piling on leaves, some of it yellowing down at the bottom, green fruit buried somewhere in the middle of it. So you are standing there with the snips in your hand, and you are not sure what to do. And the advice you have heard does not agree with itself. Somebody told you to strip the leaves off so the sun can get to the tomatoes and ripen them. Somebody else told you to pinch out every side shoot you find. Somebody told you to take the bottom leaves off, and your neighbor never touches his and gets more tomatoes than anybody. So here is the truth, and it is simpler than the arguing suggests. Some of those leaves must stay, and cutting them costs you fruit, flavor, and in the worst case, sunburnt tomatoes. And some of them can come off, and taking them off at the right moment protects the plant from the disease most likely to kill it. The problem is that they look almost identical, and most people cut the wrong ones. I will give you both columns in this video. What must stay and why? What can go, exactly when, and exactly how? And I am going to start by killing the single most popular piece of tomato advice there is, because it is not just useless, it actively makes your tomatoes worse, and thousands of people are doing it right now. But before any of that, you need to answer one question about your plant, because it changes the answer completely. There are two kinds of tomato plant, and on one of them, the standard pruning advice is correct, and on the other, it will cost you between a third and half of your harvest. Same cut, same snips, same afternoon. Opposite result. So let's start there. Because until you know which plant you own, you should not be cutting anything. Before we sort the two kinds of plant, hold on to one idea, because it decides every single call you are going to make out there. A tomato leaf is not decoration. It is a factory. Every leaf on that plant is a solar panel. It catches sunlight and turns it into sugar, and that sugar is what builds and fills and flavors your tomatoes. That is the entire relationship. Leaves make sugar. Sugar makes fruit. A tomato plant with more healthy leaves makes more fruit and sweeter fruit than the same plant with fewer. So every leaf you cut off is a small amount of sugar you have decided not to have, which means the default position, the starting assumption for every leaf on that plant, is keep it. Cutting is the exception. And every cut you make needs an actual reason, a specific job it is doing for the plant, not just tidiness, and not just because you saw somebody do it on the internet. And there are exactly 3 good reasons to remove a tomato leaf. 1. It is in the splash zone where disease comes up out of the soil. 2. It is already sick or spent and is costing more than it gives. 3. It is growth the plant should not be investing in at all, and that one depends entirely on which kind of tomato you have. That is the whole framework. 3 reasons. Everything else stays. And do me a favor. Drop a comment and tell me what varieties you are growing this year, and whether the tag said determinate or indeterminate, and I will come back to the tricky ones. Now, that question. It is the one that decides everything. There are 2 kinds of tomato plant, and they are built on completely different plans. An indeterminate tomato is a vine. It grows from a single growing tip, and it just keeps going, up and up, all season, limited only by frost and how tall your support is. It flowers and fruits continuously the whole way, a bit at a time, from midsummer until the cold kills it. Most heirlooms are indeterminate. Brandywine, Cherokee Purple, Sun Gold, Better Boy, most cherry tomatoes. A determinate tomato is a bush. It grows to a genetically fixed size, somewhere around 3 or 4 feet, and then it stops. And when it stops, it sets its flowers and its fruit all at once, ripens the whole crop over a couple of weeks, and it is essentially done. Roma, most paste tomatoes, Celebrity, Bush Early Girl, most of the compact patio varieties. Now here is why this matters more than anything else in this video. On a determinate tomato, the fruit is carried on the side shoots. Those side shoots are the harvest. So when somebody tells you to pinch out every sucker, and you do that to a determinate plant, you are not tidying it. You are cutting off the tomatoes before they exist. The extension research is blunt about it. Removing suckers above the first flower cluster on a determinate does not increase yield, and one grower's estimate puts the loss at 30 to 50% of your harvest. You are throwing away potential fruit with your own hands. On an indeterminate, the same cut is genuinely useful, and I will show you exactly how to do it. So how do you tell? Easiest way is the tag or the seed packet, and it will usually say determinate or indeterminate outright. If it says bush, that means determinate. If it says vining, indeterminate. Lost the tag? Watch the plant. If it has stopped getting taller and set a big flush of flowers all over at once, that is a determinate. If it is still climbing and flowering in stages as it goes, indeterminate. Find that out first. Then you can pick up the snips. Now, the leaves that must stay. And I have to start with the myth, because it is the most widespread piece of tomato advice there is, and it is completely backwards. The myth is this. Late in the season, you have got green tomatoes hanging there. Frost is coming, and somebody tells you to strip the leaves off around the fruit so the sun can get to them and ripen them. It sounds obvious. Sun ripens fruit. Everybody knows that. Except tomatoes do not ripen by sunlight. They never have. A tomato ripens through two things: a hormone called ethylene, which the fruit produces itself, and temperature. That is it. Light is not part of the mechanism. You can prove it in your own kitchen, and I would encourage you to. Take 2 tomatoes that have just started to turn. Put one on a sunny windowsill and one in a paper bag in a dark cupboard. The one in the dark bag will ripen faster because the bag traps the ethylene, so stripping leaves does not speed anything up. But it is worse than useless because of what it does to temperature. The ideal range for a tomato to ripen is roughly 68 to 77 degrees. Ripening slows above and below that, and once fruit temperature climbs past about 86 degrees, the plant stops producing lycopene and carotene altogether, the pigments that make a tomato red. That is exactly why people get fruit with hard yellow shoulders, or fruit that sits half green and stubborn through a heat wave. It is too hot. Now think about what you have done by pulling the leaves off. You have taken a fruit that was sitting in dappled shade at a comfortable temperature and put it in direct sun in July. You have not helped it ripen. You have pushed it up into the range where ripening stalls. And then there is sun scald, which is the plant version of sunburn. Fruit that developed under a leaf canopy has no protection, and when you suddenly expose it, you get pale, blotchy, papery patches on the shoulders where the sun hit it. Iowa State names this directly as a risk of over-pruning. When you take the leaves off, you have taken away the umbrella. So here is the first column, clearly. Every healthy green leaf above and around your fruit stays. Those are the leaves shading your tomatoes and feeding your tomatoes at the same time, and they are the exact leaves people cut first. And the flavor point deserves saying on its own, because it is the one that hurts. The leaves are what make the sugar. Strip them, and the fruit that is still forming on that plant will not be as sweet. You grew your own tomatoes specifically so they would taste like something. Cutting the leaves off works directly against the only reason you did this. So when you are out there, the rule is restraint. Never remove more than 1/3 of the plant's foliage at any one time, and honestly, most of you will never need to go near that limit. If you take a lot off, the plant goes into shock, and the remaining leaves curl up. Keep the canopy, keep the umbrella, keep the sugar. Now, the leaves that genuinely can go. Quick one, because notice what actually happened at the top of this video. Before I could tell you which leaves to cut, I had to make you go find out what kind of tomato you own. Because the identical cut, made with the identical snips on the identical afternoon, is either good practice or 30 to 50% of your harvest thrown in the compost. The technique was never the hard part. Knowing what is standing in front of you was. And there is one plant in the garden where that is truer than anywhere, and where people get it wrong constantly. The hydrangea. Because hydrangea is not one plant, it is 6 different types, and they carry their flower buds at different times and on different wood. So a careful gardener tidies one up in the fall, doing exactly what you should do to plenty of shrubs, and next spring it comes up green and lush and completely healthy and gives them nothing. Not one flower. They cut off next summer's blooms with their own hands and had no way of knowing. It is the single most common gardening complaint there is. So I wrote the honest version down. It is called the Hydrangea Mastery Guide. All 6 types, told apart in 90 seconds, because that is where every mistake starts. The prune by type calendar, so the cut you make is the right one for the plant in front of you. The real reason the color changes, which is not the pH, whatever you were told. And the 5 myths that waste an entire season. 29 pages, $27, instant PDF, 7-day money-back guarantee, and the link is in the description at waltgreer.com. And it ends the way this channel always ends. With the part nobody selling you something will print. 4 of the 6 types cannot change color at all, no matter what you pour on them. Fertilizer will never fix a hydrangea that will not bloom. Because a guide that only tells you what to do is only half a guide. Now, back to the tomatoes, and the first cut that everyone should make. Cut number 1, the bottom zone. And this is the one cut in this entire video that applies to everybody, determinate and indeterminate alike, and almost nobody does it. Here is the job it does. The diseases that kill tomato plants, early blight, septoria leaf spot, bacterial leaf spot, do not arrive on the wind. They live in the soil. They sit in the top inch of dirt under your plant and wait, and every time it rains, or every time you water with a hose, the impact splashes soil particles upward onto the lowest leaves. Those leaves get infected first, and then the disease works its way up the plant, leaf by leaf, all season. Look at a diseased tomato plant sometime, and you will see it. The damage always starts at the bottom and climbs, so you break the ladder. You remove the leaves in the splash zone, and the disease has nothing to land on. Here is exactly how. Take off all the leaves and side shoots from roughly the bottom 6 to 12 inches of the stem, and some growers go as high as 16. The rule underneath the number is simpler than the number. Nothing green should be touching the soil or close enough to catch a splash. And a useful second guide is to remove anything below the lowest cluster of flowers or fruit, because those leaves are doing very little for the plant anyway. Timing. Do it once the plant is properly established and about 12 to 18 inches tall, which is usually 2 or 3 weeks after transplanting. Not on a seedling. A small plant needs every leaf it has. Cut close to the main stem without gouging it, and do not leave a torn, jagged stub, because a ragged wound is an open door. And do the partner move while you are down there. Mulch under that plant, straw or wood chips or compost, 2 or 3 inches. The bare leaves stop the splash from landing, and the mulch stops the splash from happening. Now, the cut that depends entirely on which plant you own. Cut number 2. Suckers. And this is the one that is either genuinely useful or genuinely expensive, depending on the answer you got in the first part of this video. First, what a sucker actually is, because people get this wrong and end up cutting the wrong thing entirely. Look at where a leaf branch meets the main stem. That junction makes a V, roughly a 45-degree angle. A sucker is the new shoot that grows out of the crook of that V, right in the armpit between the two. It is not the leaf branch itself. Do not cut the leaf branch. The sucker is the extra thing growing in the corner between them. Now, the fork. If you have a determinate, a bush tomato, leave them alone. Remove any suckers below the first flower cluster if you like, for airflow down low, and then stop. Everything above that first flower cluster is where your crop is coming from. Do not touch it. If you have an indeterminate, a vining tomato, suckering is real work that pays. Left alone, an indeterminate throws suckers everywhere. and every one of them can grow into an 8-foot stem of its own. You end up with an enormous tangled mess, poor airflow in the middle, and fruit that is smaller and later than it needed to be because the plant is dividing its resources across far too many stems. So, decide how many main stems you want and manage to that number. 1 or 2 for a container or a tight space. 2 or 3 in a proper garden bed. 4 is the most anybody should attempt. And the trade is simple and worth knowing. Fewer stems gives you fewer tomatoes, but bigger ones. More stems gives you more, but smaller. Technique. Get them while they are small, under 2 inches, pencil width or thinner, and you can just pinch them off between your fingers. No tools, tiny wound, heals in a day. Let them get big, and you need pruners, and you leave a real scar for disease to enter. So, check weekly. In warm weather, a sucker goes from invisible to several inches in a matter of days. And one nice thing, a sucker you pinched off will root in a jar of water or straight into soil. Free tomato plants. Cut number 3. The sick and the spent, and this one is easy because the plant tells you. Any leaf that has gone yellow, brown, spotted, or crispy comes off whenever you see it on any tomato plant. A yellow leaf has stopped being a factory. It is not making sugar anymore. It is just costing the plant resources to maintain, and if it is diseased, it is a source of infection sitting there reinfecting everything above it. So walk the plant regularly and take them off as they appear. This is the one cut that needs no rules and no timing. See it, remove it. And then the last cut, which happens once at the very end of the season, and it has a name. Topping. You cut off the growing tip of the main stem 4 to 6 weeks before your first expected frost. Now let me be honest about what topping does and does not do, because this is where the advice out there gets sloppy. It does not make your existing tomatoes ripen faster. Extension research is clear on that, and it follows from everything I told you earlier. Ripening is controlled by temperature and ethylene, not by how much top growth the plant is carrying. Anybody who tells you to top the plant to hurry the fruit along is repeating the same mistake as stripping leaves for sunlight. What it does do is stop the waste, because an indeterminate tomato does not know winter is coming. Left alone, it will keep climbing, keep flowering, and keep setting brand new little green fruit right up until the frost kills all of it. Every one of those new flowers is energy spent on tomatoes that have no chance of finishing. Cut the growing tip off, and the plant stops making new ones and puts what it has left into the fruit already on the vine, which sizes up better as a result. So topping is about redirecting, not accelerating. And note, this is an indeterminate job. A determinate has already stopped growing on its own. It topped itself. Now, 4 rules that apply to every cut in this video. Prune on a dry day, so the wounds seal before moisture gets in. Clean your blades between plants with alcohol or soapy water, because tomato diseases travel on steel. Wash your hands too, especially if you use tobacco, because tobacco carries a virus that infects tomatoes. And never take more than 1/3 of the foliage at one go. Before we finish, send this to one person you know who is out there right now, stripping the leaves off their tomatoes to let the sun in. Just the link. They think they are helping, and they are making their tomatoes paler, later, and less sweet, and nobody has told them. Now, here is the whole thing, in 2 columns. These stay. Every healthy green leaf above and around your fruit. They are the sugar factory that makes your tomatoes taste like something, and they are the umbrella that stops them sunburning. Tomatoes ripen on ethylene and warmth, never on sunlight, so stripping that canopy does not speed anything up. It just cooks the fruit past the temperature where ripening even works. Keep them. These can go at the right time. Everything in the bottom 6 to 12 inches, once the plant is established, because that is the splash zone where blight comes up out of the soil. Suckers, weekly, while they are smaller than a pencil, but only on an indeterminate, because on a bush tomato, those side shoots are your crop. Anything yellow, spotted, or dead, the moment you see it. And the growing tip, 4 to 6 weeks before frost, to stop the plant chasing fruit it can never finish. And underneath all of it, the one habit that makes you good at this. The default is keep. A leaf stays unless you can name the job that removing it does. Tidiness is not a job. Somebody on the internet said so is not a job. Because your neighbor who never prunes and gets great tomatoes is not lucky. He is just never making the expensive mistake. So subscribe and stick around. We do this the honest way here in the Forgotten Knowledge Library. Real horticulture, exact amounts, and we tell you straight, including when the popular advice is flatly wrong. It is free, and it always will be. Next time, another job everybody does to the whole garden, that half the garden did not want. Now go out to your tomatoes, find the tag, find out which kind you own, and then decide. I'll see you in the next one.